A powerful plantation owner once made a decision so cruel that even other slave owners whispered about it in disbelief. He didn't sell land. He didn't punish a worker. He handed his own daughter to a slave, not out of mercy, not out of desperation, but out of hatred. What happened next did not involve violence. It did not involve rebellion, yet it destroyed his reputation, changed the fate of dozens of lives, and exposed a truth that history tried to bury. This is not just a story about slavery. This is a story about control, shame, and the dangerous moment when humanity survives cruelty. 1847. The Whitmore Plantation in South Carolina stretched farther than the eye could see. Rows of cotton fields glistened under the southern sun, worked by men and women who had no ownership over their own bodies. To outsiders, Whitmore Plantation was a symbol of success. To those who lived inside it, it was a prison without walls. The man who owned it all was Edgar Whitmore. Edgar was not known for loud cruelty. He didn't scream. He didn't lose control. He believed discipline worked best when delivered calmly. A missed quota meant reduced food. A mistake meant isolation. Disobedience meant pain, administered quietly, efficiently, without witnesses. The enslaved learned quickly. Edgar Whitmore did not need rage to break people. Fear did the work for him. But behind the grand house, behind the image of authority, Edgar Whitmore carried a shame he could not control. And her name was Eleanor. Eleanor Whitmore was Edgar's only child. She had been born after 3 stillbirths. A fact Edgar never forgave her mother for or Eleanor for surviving. From childhood, Eleanor learned that love in the Whitmore house was conditional. Her mother died when Eleanor was 9. After that, the house went silent. No bedtime stories, no encouragement, no protection. As Eleanor grew older, her body changed in ways society did not forgive. She was heavier than other girls, slower, awkward. Food became her comfort, the only thing that never judged her. Servants whispered, but Edgar never defended her. At dinners, Edgar attended alone. At social events, Eleanor was unwell. At church, she stayed behind. To Edgar, Eleanor was not a daughter. She was a reminder that even a powerful man could produce something society rejected. By the time Eleanor turned 23, Edgar stopped speaking to her entirely. And then came the night everything changed. Edgar attended a dinner with neighboring plantation owners. Wine flowed. Jokes were exchanged, and then someone asked, casually, "So, Edgar, when will we finally meet your daughter?" Laughter followed, not cruel laughter, the worst kind, polite, knowing. Edgar smiled through it, but inside, something broke. That night, Edgar did not sleep. By morning, he had convinced himself of something dangerous. If Eleanor could not bring him respect as a lady, she would serve him in another way. He summoned an enslaved man named Samuel. Samuel was 32 years old. He had been born on the plantation. He had never known freedom. Samuel was valued not for intelligence, but for obedience. He repaired tools, maintained fences, spoke only when spoken to. Edgar trusted Samuel not because he respected him, but because he believed Samuel had been broken enough to obey anything. Edgar told Samuel he would now be responsible for Eleanor. The words were deliberately vague, but Samuel understood enough to feel fear crawl into his chest. Refusal was not an option. Misinterpretation was dangerous. Samuel walked toward the plantation house that night, knowing one mistake could cost him his life. Eleanor knew before Samuel arrived. Her father had spoken to her that morning, for the first time in months. "You will accept what is given," Edgar said. "You will stop embarrassing me." That was all. When Samuel entered Eleanor's room, silence filled the air. Eleanor was crying, not from fear of Samuel, but from understanding exactly how little her father valued her. Samuel stood frozen. Accusations were lethal, even imagined ones. Minutes passed before Eleanor spoke. "I won't hurt you," she said quietly, "and I won't let him hurt you through me." Samuel looked up stunned. No one had ever protected him before. And Eleanor realized something terrifying. For the first time in her life, someone was more afraid than she was. Days passed. Nothing happened, which itself was unexpected. Instead, Samuel helped Eleanor with simple things. Walking, stretching, sitting in the garden. He never touched her unless she asked. Never spoke unless she invited conversation. Eleanor began to change not in size, but in spirit. For the first time, someone listened. She told Samuel about her childhood, her loneliness, her belief that she deserved punishment for existing. Samuel told her less, but what he said carried weight. He spoke of fear, of watching family members sold away, of learning that silence was survival. Two broken lives moved slowly towards something neither had planned: mutual respect. Edgar watched from afar. He expected Eleanor to shrink further, to break. Instead, she stood straighter. Her eyes met his. Something in her had changed, and Edgar hated it. He began visiting Eleanor's room unexpectedly, looking for proof, looking for justification, but there was none, and that frightened him more than disobedience ever could. One evening, Edgar made a choice. He accused Samuel publicly. He claimed Samuel had corrupted his daughter. The accusation spread fast, not because people cared, but because scandal entertains power. Samuel was dragged forward. Eleanor watched silently. Then she stood, and she spoke. She told them everything: her father's neglect, his cruelty, his manipulation. She defended Samuel, not emotionally, but factually. Her voice did not shake. The room fell silent. Edgar Whitmore had revealed his own rot. No one challenged Edgar openly. They didn't have to. Business partnerships quietly dissolved. Invitations stopped arriving. Edgar was still rich, but isolated. Power without respect is fragile. Months later, Edgar Whitmore died suddenly. No mourners gathered. Eleanor inherited everything, and she did something unexpected. She sold parts of the land. She freed people quietly. She arranged Samuel's passage north. History would never record her name as a hero, but lives changed because of her. The man who tried to control two lives lost everything, not through violence, not through rebellion, but because humanity survived where cruelty expected obedience. Sometimes the most dangerous thing to power is kindness that refuses to disappear.